Hey, what's up? So I've got a pretty exciting project to go through today. I took the carbon tax rebate check that our government mailed out, and I bought us an MPPT solar controller to replace this old school one that I've been using for the last year or so. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this affects the performance. I'm going to do a direct conversion first and run it with the panels as they have been up until now, which is all the panels I have in parallel. And then I'm going to switch the panels and check how that affects it. So should be pretty interesting. Alright, first things first, get some multimeters on the batteries so we can see the actual current coming in and out of them, the voltage. Voltage on the left there, and the current on the right. I tried to pick a cloudy day to do this, but the sun seems to want to poke out here and there, so it's going to mess with things. I'm going to have to be fast with the switch over so we can see it. So that's a positive current of 500 milliamps going into the batteries there. And here's the space I have to currently work with. I think it's going to be going over here. Something like this, and I'll show you why. Let me unlatch this and flip this down. Now, don't be afraid of anything you see here. Well, you can be afraid, but this has been running for a little over a year with absolutely no problems in the control panel. So it's not as bad as it looks. So here's the inverter that I'm using. It's not very good. It'll be the next thing to be replaced. This is the back of the solar controller. The display for the whole thing, the plugs, AC plugs, no touchy. A couple potentiometers I used to vary different values for the Arduino, which is right here. It's an Arduino Uno running at 5 volts right now. It's one of these switchable ones that can go down to 3.3, but it's running at 5. Doesn't really matter, I guess. A couple MOSFETs for the pumps, and I had another extra one here that I was running fans off of as well. And so yeah, lots of room over here for that controller, and that's where that'll go. I'm just working myself some slack out of this wire. I just wanted to say we use the power coming from this shed quite a bit. You might have noticed that I said I used the carbon tax rebate check for this controller. Got this whole project going. So that rebate check was basically meant to offset the costs that the extra tax is going to give. Now, who's to say it will? But I mean, we use this battery bank for so many things. Recharging our lawnmower in the summer, all of our handheld devices, all of our music that we play outside in the summer. We use wireless speakers that run off of this. Lots of my experiments, all my batteries, small batteries that I charge inside for experiments is all run off of this. Like a lot of stuff, right? So now we should have a lot more power at our disposal just from this one battery, or from this one controller. So there we go. It's actually being used what it's supposed to be used for. So I want to talk about that program. I think it's a good program, and people don't talk about it in a good light, especially around here very much. So carbon tax isn't very popular, but here it is working. So cheers. Okay, so we'll take a look at this. I'll try and get this all in one shot here. That's our input. Right now, one pump is running using about half an amp or so. Okay, here we go. I'll try and make this as not awkward as possible. So, what I'm going to do is just simply disconnect the PV input. So, and I'll read out any big changes in the numbers. Right now, the pump and everything will keep running. I'll tape up the ends as well. So still sitting at about half an amp input or so. And I'll know exactly what the draw is as soon as I pull these wires here. What are these actually? I should know first. I'm going to assume that's negative, positive, negative, positive. I color coded it properly, yes. Okay. Do not attempt this at home unless you have done it a million times before. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. And this controller's just going to sit happily in here. Pump and the controller and everything. Right now, the inverter pulls about 200 milliamps or so. That's just the heater kicking off. And everything all together right now is pulling 800 milliamps when the pump runs at just at idle with just the microcontroller and the inverter running, it's using 300 milliamps. It's pretty high. It's a pretty hungry little inverter. Really need to change that one out. Okay, so I believe it's negative on the right here. More slack. Getting your hole. You stay on tape. I just don't want any of these wires shorting anything. 20 volts hitting something they're not supposed to. Not cool. Oh, put too much tape on there. Old recycled tape from the floor. It's important. I don't clean up for a reason. Okay, and this display is already up, and it's showing the battery voltage at 12.3 when I'm showing 12.8 down there, and that's probably just because of the wires that go down. They are fairly large, heavy stranded wires, probably 16 to 14 gauge, but there's still a big voltage drop there for some reason. So I don't know. Weird. Okay, let me hook these up as fast as I can here. Here's my screwdriver. These have these tricky little spring hookups here. And wouldn't you know, it looks like the sun just came out too, so it's totally going to skew everything. Okay. And now we show charging. Yes. 24 volts at the PV. Okay, let's look what's coming in here. Well, right off the bat, the sun did just come out too. But look at the battery voltage, it hasn't changed a lot. The 2.2 amps, 1.8 at rest. I'm going to let that sit there for a second just in case the clouds do go back over. Poke my head out the door here. And, you know, the sun is far from full right now, and I'm liking that a lot. Okay, now I'm going to play with this display here. Load 117, I don't know what that means. 18 volts. I don't know what any of these things are. 2.3 amps. That's what I'm showing. 14 volt battery. 2.8 amps into the battery. 3 amps into the battery is what this is showing. And that's not what is going in, is it? No. But this is showing 3 amps into okay, I get it now. Into 14 volts. So that's probably just what the filter capacitor is inside of the controller, which is lower than what's actually over here. So 13 volts on that side due to voltage drop. Okay, now, and due to that exact thing, it's going to be really interesting when I reconfigure all these panels, because right now they're all in parallel. So when I hook them up at a higher voltage, it's going to be less voltage drop over these wires. So I'm going to get even more input, which is really nice. And this controller can handle up to 100 volts DC input. So I'm going to spend some time checking out the panels, checking out what their max voltages are and stuff, and reconfiguring them. And we'll take a look at this again. Oh, that's looking really good though already. I'm really happy with that. Yeah, I know, it's time. Okay. Alright, now as a little summary, there's not much to see on the meters there. The sun's gone down pretty much, so it's really not comparative data. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this thing. I'm really happy with its performance. First impression. I've seen some bigger numbers coming through into the battery than I've ever seen before, so a lot more current coming through. That probably has to do with just a good conversion and just how it's handling the higher voltage of the panels instead of clamping them like the old one did. So I'm happy with that. I will say during the low cloud periods, it starts to enter some algorithms and starts to cut the power down a little bit. So I believe it's probably entering some kind of a trickle charge phase or something like that. So I really need to get the software to get into here. This didn't come with another separate controller or anything to get into those controls. So it's kind of an advanced set of controls that you need the software to get into, and the correct cables and stuff. So I will say that about it. So it's got some more features. That's nice. It's more tunable, so you can tune it to your region, I guess. So that's good. But yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with that first day. And there's a bit more in-depth look at what's going on inside here. Cheers.